Jim Benning has just concluded his post-trade deadline press conference. There were some big moves made today, some significant deals which could alter the structure of a number of teams going forward. Unfortunately, it doesn't appear that any of those belong to the Vancouver Canucks. They added a couple of depth forwards, Brandon Leipzig from Las Vegas, Tyler Mott from Columbus. Not really the kind of players that are going to capture the imagination of the marketplace. Leipzig may be the more interesting of the two. Benning just said he sees him maybe as fitting in as in the Canucks' bottom nine. He's a smaller, feisty type player, adds some speed. There's supposedly a Brad Marchand element to his game, so there's that. But again, it seems like it's another missed opportunity for this organization to send a message, to accumulate assets going forward that are going to help this team. Jason,
how are you?
What did you think? And what did you think of what we just witnessed?
I think it's at least should be surprising here that the team's inability to acquire draft picks.
Yeah.
Like generally, rebuilding teams, find ways to get picks. I'm kind of flabbergasted that it's been 3 years now since the team has been able to make a player for pick type trade, which all rebuild teams do. I put that to Jim today, and props for him. I think he did a good job answering all the questions, but I still feel like there's no answer to this. Like, why, when everyone else in the league seems to be getting picks, like why can't this team acquire draft picks?
And I think that's the frustration for Canucks fans. It's been a consistent part of this administration's narrative, and it's that inability to kind of tone deafness, messaging, whatever it is. They're supposed to be in a rebuild, yet they do things which aren't consistent with teams in a rebuild. You look at what the New York Rangers have done in less than a calendar year. They've completely remade their organization, and they've sold the rebuild. This is the New York Rangers, and believe me, there's a lot more pressure on them to remain competitive on a year-in, year-out basis. So I think a lot of Canucks fans look at that, why can't we do those kind of moves? Why can't we do those kind of things that really, are aggressive and send a clear signal of where this team's going?
And we talk about mixed messages often with the front office, and it was just a couple of weeks ago where there were kind of a couple of mixed messages in the press conference which announced Benning's extension, in that, like Trevor was saying, draft and develop, it's their only way out of it. And Jim, since then, has been, leading up to today, had been saying, I want to make hockey trades. Picks and prospects are going to be at a premium at this deadline. Well, today it was kind of a 180 on that. He said that he was focused on trying to get picks, but just couldn't get any. And I believe him that I guess that they couldn't get, there was no pick offered from Vanek. It's just surprising when you see a fourth for Morrow. There are other guys who are worse than Vanek.
Cole for a third and a prospect. Excuse me. It's been a long day and a lot of watching the trade crawl on TSN. So yeah, I think that kind of sums it up for me. Is you kind of go into these things hoping they send a clear message, but invariably it just doesn't seem to happen.
And we talk about if you were a new GM or an executive, and you came into this club and you looked at the situation and thought, how am I going to get my way out of this? I think two of the guys, to me, that you would look at moving are Berchi and Tanev, two of the guys that kind of fit the mold of what we saw that went for a ton today. They're both in their prime. They're both team controlled. Both of them have reasonable contracts. And again, I put that to Jim, and he kind of said, he essentially said we weren't looking to move those types of guys. Don't they have to move those types of guys to get ahead?
And further to this point about messaging, again, Thomas Tatar goes from Detroit to Las Vegas for a first, a second, and a third. Now, maybe a little more accomplished player than Barchi, but Barchi is 2 years younger, significantly cheaper, and he's actually outperformed Tatar this year. So it just doesn't quite line up with what they're trying to do and what they actually accomplish.
So just 6 picks heading in the draft. They say that they're going to look for more. We'll see. Definitely, if it is 6 on draft day or even 7, I'm going to say it's not enough.
Yeah, and interesting because heading into this offseason, and Jim referenced it in his press conference, all of a sudden they've got this surplus of forwards. If you look at the depth chart, they're running 15, 16 deep, so I have to believe there will be some moves made for draft picks in advance, but we've said that before about this organization.
Berchi, think about it.